With regard to the markets, it's going to correct at one point, and it's not just a matter of a correction. It's a matter of the debt market's going to melt down, and it's being so hyperinflated right now again, and it's a vicious cycle. The more debt they issue, the more they must issue in the form of currency and whatever else here, because it just demands more of it as we move forward. It's a self-destructive mechanism, and meanwhile, what are we finding out recently here? Central banks hoarding gold, hoarding it at a faster pace than they have ever. We have hedge funds, investment banks hoarding gold. The richest people on this planet hoarding gold, more so than we've ever seen before. What do they know that we're not allowed to know? We're not supposed to know.
This is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty in Finance, and these are our weekly specials from September 2nd through September 9th while supplies last. First, we have the famous 1-ounce gold Krugerrand at just $60 over spot. Next, we have the favorite bullion coin of Europe, backdated Silver Philharmonics at just $3.10 over spot. Next, we have compelling pricing on various pre-33 American gold coins. For current pricing on these or any of our other products, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Welcome back to Liberty in Finance. We're always delighted to have this wildly popular returning guest. Gregory Mannarino is the founder of TradersChoice.net. He's a trading coach. He's also a commentator on the direction that our country is taking and what to do about it. He joins us this Tuesday. This is September 3rd, 2024. Greg, thanks for coming back on Liberty in Finance.
Thanks for having me on, bro. Love being here.
The reason we grabbed you, you're always on our calendar like months in advance. However, this time we said, we've got to get you on right away because you put out a big surprise splash announcement end of last week. We're going to talk about that at the end of this video. So people hang around. We're going to talk to you about what big announcement Greg made on Friday and why we all need to be aware of it. And I think it's going to be of high interest to all of our viewers and subscribers. You want to share that widely. Greg, before we get to that, let's quick talk about the situation we find ourselves in our macro economy, both economically, geopolitically, and specifically in areas that you've told us to watch out for in the past, which is the debt market and the stability of the debt market and what it signifies in terms of the direction that we're likely to see for all the other markets, which are derivatives of the debt market. Most people don't understand that relationship. You've pointed out many, many times over the years that the U.S. bond market, et cetera, and the growth of the national debt, et cetera, is absolutely going to be the driver of big things that are going to be big changes that are becoming and absolutely shake the foundations of people's financial lives. Can you give us your latest, what you're watching in that arena and what we need to be watching out for?
Well, specifically, I think I'm looking at what central banks are doing right now. It's an interesting paradox here. So, and then look, I urge people to always do their own research into this. Don't take my word for anything I say always. But what we're seeing here is a phenomenon that I don't think shocks anyone or is surprising. But we have the current environment is as such. We have a contracting global economy, contracting extremely rapidly. Meanwhile, we got central banks collectively ballooning the global money supply. Now, this is a vicious cycle. The more currency that is issued by a central bank, the more it loses value. So with that said, it should not be a surprise that we're seeing what we're seeing right now is central banks flooding the world with more currency, which is, of course, their goal, their end game, to inflate. This is their single power. I think most people who follow our work understands that. At least I hope they do. Now we have this new phase, which it's actually it already started. There are already several central banks around the world involved in emergency monetary policy, quantitative easing here, creating cash out of nothing, getting into the debt market and buying the debt. The Fed is doing this right now, although they haven't made the announcement. It's kind of astonishing. We have rates here in the United States plummeting, mortgage rates at almost a 2-year low, but the Fed's not cutting rates. They're not cutting rates because they haven't made the announcement yet. It's incredible. People have become so, I have to say this, dumbed down that they have to be told things like infantile entities. The Fed is obviously in here buying all the debt, suppressing rates here. This is bleeding off, suppressing yields, which is bleeding off and causing rates to fall. They're going to make this announcement this month here. This is the first trading week of this new month here into September. And, it's just not going to stop. We're going to see, what did we witness over the weekend? Like more war, expanding war, more death, more pain, more suffering. This is part of the mechanism here. I don't know what they're going to throw at us, but it's going to entail a lot more debt expansion here. Moving into 2025, and I've been telling people this for a very long time, it looks like things are going to change rapidly. The system is not sustainable. It's period in the end. Bank runs are inevitable. A series of closures are inevitable. A lot of stuff is being hidden from the public here. The system is insolvent. It's bankrupt, operates in a perpetual vacuum. And the only mechanism here to keep the illusion real is by, of course, pumping more debt into the system, leading us to a grand finale, a climax, which is going to be designed to bring people to their knees so they can issue in the new system.
You mentioned the stress that the system is under and expansion of debt that's necessary in an increasing rate to cover. It's a foundational problem with the fiat currency system, that it's all based on exponentially need to increase the amount of debt out there. We've seen this we've seen this on an ongoing basis throughout after United States separation from constitutional money. We're going to talk more about that at the end as well. But what I wanted to get with you about is the impact that this has, the increased risk this has on ordinary earners, savers, and retirees. Ordinary folks that you talk to in the day, everybody feels the pinch in our monthly budgets, that everybody can start rattling off things that used to cost more. My wife and I just got back from a out of state wedding. We talked to a lady who is a horse wrangler. She runs riding stable. She said her feed went up from, $8 a huge unit up to $28 a huge unit over the last administration. And she says, I can't keep going like this. And so people are feeling the pinch from consumer price inflation that's being often understated or denied by the Fed. But the thing that they're not aware of is that that's a consequence of the real origin of that, the expansion of credit, the expansion of the debt, and the dilution and destruction of the currency itself. In the past, when this led to, for example, the global financial collapse of 2008, we had major issues where people got underwater home loans and that sort of thing. Right now, we're seeing a huge rise in what's called pension risk transfer, PRT. It's the most bizarre thing, but I had a client give me a earful about this and sent me a bunch of clips, and it's remarkable the number of companies from Verizon to 3M to Kodak to on down the list, all these major companies, Jim Beam, etc., that are basically washing their hands right now of their pension obligations, their defined benefit plans to all of their retirees. Another baby boomer generation thinks they've worked all their life for this sure thing, which is their pensions. But the companies that are holding the bag of those obligations of the pensions are running for the exits right now. The rate of pension risk transfers, meaning these companies dumping these onto like insurance companies in return for an annuity or one-time buyout, just to give people a lump sum of money now and not have any obligations in the future, has been more than doubling each of the last 3 years. And wondering if you have observations about the baby boomer generation that have worked all their lives to build up what they believe is a secure retirement and a pension versus the ones that are holding the pensions that have this obligation are dumping those obligations on insurance companies, whereas circling back to the global financial collapse of 2008, AIG was the third largest insurer in the world at the time, and it went belly up and had to be bailed out by the Fed. Comments from you on people's retirements that are being dumped basically by their employers who don't want to be holding the bag in this environment.
First of all, it wasn't the Fed that bailed it out. We bailed it out. We were forced to pay for it all, of course. But look, the mechanism is very, very simple. And I've been trying to tell people this for I don't know how long. Okay, the mechanism of artificially suppressed rates, okay, has robbed these pension plans and people themselves of trillions, literally trillions of dollars in realized gains. It's grand theft on an unimaginable scale. And it's a mechanism here to bring the entire system down with it and bring the people down with it as well. This is the mechanism behind what we're seeing here collectively by central banks in their quest, in their mission, which has been incredibly successful, to destroy, deconstruct the current system by fostering an illusion of prosperity, by inflating the stock market on the back of that. Global debt ballooning like we've never seen. I mean, since the 2008 moment where the system actually died. It was dead then. It died then. This is nothing but a drug-induced high, drug in the form of debt, credit, however you want to look at it, that has propped up the system artificially, and it's not sustainable. The fact of the matter is the system is bankrupt from every angle that you want to look at. Not only is it bankrupt, it's negative bankrupt by exponents. And the system, unfortunately, via this mechanism here and world leaders colluding with their central banks to foster this global debt expansion, is directly responsible for what's happening to people's pension plans and the trillions of dollars that they've been robbed of via this mechanism of suppressed rates here. It's an incredible thing to see. It really, really is. And I've been telling people for 10 years now, the distortions that we see are monumental. There's nothing like it. We don't have an economy anywhere around the world. We don't have a real market. It's all been twisted via this same mechanism here. It's an incredible thing. It really is. But, look, this is my view, all of it, playing into what you just laid out beautifully just before I started talking here, is all part of the same thing, to bring the people down to their knees and have them beg for something, beg for a solution. All we're being provided is more of a way to railroad us down a very destructive pathway. These calls from the both presidential selectees for lower rates, promises of lower rates. Obviously, that means a weaker currency. It doesn't help us here. It helps the corporate agenda. The mom and pop shops are gone. Small businesses can't survive in this environment. We need the polar opposite of what we've been sold here via this mechanism. What we're being sold right now, again, by both presidential selectees. The solution is very simple. The 1 and 2 percenters, they're the ones that benefit from this. It's called the Cantillon effect. I urge people to look that up. I think we spoke about this recently, you and I. While the bottom, the middle class is being systematically exterminated via the mechanism you just outlined here. It's just the ripple effect of this phenomenon of what central banks are doing. We've never seen anything like it before. And then this means all this is, with regard to the markets, it's going to correct at one point. And it's not just a matter of a correction. It's a matter of the debt market's going to melt down. And it's being so hyperinflated right now again. And it's a vicious cycle. The more debt they issue, the more they must issue in the form of currency and whatever else here, because it just demands more of it as we move forward. It's a self-destructive mechanism. And meanwhile, what are we finding out recently here? Central banks hoarding gold, hoarding it at a faster pace than they have ever. We have hedge funds, investment banks hoarding gold. The richest people on this planet hoarding gold, more so than we've ever seen before. What do they know that we're not allowed to know? We're not supposed to know. Well, you people who follow our work are well versed in what's going on here, why they're doing what they're doing here, betting against the system here. Central banks are betting against the system that they're forcing us to participate in by buying gold here. It's exactly what you and I have been telling people since forever. You and I have been out here for a very long time. And honestly, the people that follow our work have benefited greatly from that. I really hope that this grows and people who follow our work share this kind of stuff. You're not going to find out this information from anywhere else. But the mechanism here is, and then you got the blame game here. Presidents don't have money printers. Okay, they have no. Inflation is a side effect of monetary policy, which is implemented by central banks. Period. All right. And it takes a finite amount of time for all these borrowed dollars to make their way through an economy. What Obama did, what Trump did, what Biden continues to do right now, this inflating of debt, they don't have the ability to do that. They work with the central banks, obviously, to do that. Well, now we're seeing the effect of inflation here, but it's not the fault of Trump, Biden, or Obama for that matter here. They work with the central banks to cause this to happen. Now it's working its way through the economy. There's a lag effect here in an environment where the economy is extremely slow or dying, which we've had here since the meltdown of 2008. Now those extra bills have finally made it through trickling down to the people. By the time that the cash gets to the people at the lower rung, it's already been massively devalued. So we're seeing this effect here again, going back to the Cantillon effect of how it works, how new money benefits the 1% and 2%ers, and then it takes a finite amount of time, in this case years, to make its way. And I told people this would happen from many years ago. It's so obvious this is how it works. But again, the lies, the distractions, the blame game, the tic-tac charade that Trump put on recently, it was unbelievable. Did you see that one? Oh, dude, it was epic, man. He had tic-tacs. He used a normal size, what we're used to, tic-tac thing, and he showed the new one, which is really smaller, and blamed this is obviously shrinkflation here, same price here, blaming it on Biden. Of course, it wasn't Biden's fault, nor is it Trump's fault, who borrowed more into existence or helped the Fed borrow more into existence than any other, the two other presidents out of the last three. But again, can't point a finger at the Fed. It's an insane situation here. They must be left blameless here. And you're getting the same thing. Why is it that we have both presidential selectees saying the same thing? And they're both now on board with cryptocurrency. Don't you find that a little odd? When Trump made his move to crypto, did you see his new thing, his NFTs? They're unbelievable. And one is a superhero, and one is him, the crypto president with a lightning bolt. It's a beautiful thing. Selling them for $99 a piece, digital trading cards. Part of his new plan to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. We need a constitutional money capital of the world. That's what we need to be. But of course, it's all a mechanism. You got both selectees saying the same thing with regard to the monetary system. Okay, let's promise the people lower rates. How does this help you and me? It doesn't. All it does is, again, fulfill the corporate agenda. We need higher rates. We need a stronger currency. Polar opposite of what we're being sold here. All this does is empower the Fed, central banks around the world. Period. The end. People can't see it. They're being led to the slaughter. Too bad. Not you, not me, nor the people who follow our work here. That they're well versed in what's going on here. And then this move. When Trump became the crypto king, whatever he calls himself now, I actually was very excited about it. Not going to lie, everyone knows it. I talked about it. I was because I'm a crypto enthusiast. I own a lot of this stuff. Everybody knows it. Greg Mannarino is an open book. Tell you how it is. Okay. But when then Kamala came out, now she's the crypto queen. We have the crypto king and the crypto queen, both on the same page. That's when I said, whoa, what's going on here? People need to start asking questions.
The other thing that happens when the leaders that are proposing themselves as our new elected leaders going forward say that they both want to help people with price inflation. They want to reduce inflation, but they want to get wages up. They want a weaker dollar. They want lower interest rates. Nothing they're saying holds together. It's not even internally consistent. Do you want to touch on that?
No, it isn't. I love how you picked up on that, man. It's amazing. People hear things, but they don't listen. They see things, but they don't look. So this is how the mechanism works. Deceive the people by whatever mechanism they can, by false facts, by putting out information that sounds right, but it's really not. It's, especially in this environment where you got people so divided, they believe whatever comes out of this person's mouth and whatever comes out of this person's mouth is gospel truth. Obviously, that's not the case here. We're being led to destruction, period, in the end. And it's these same entities who these two work for. They don't work for us. How is it that, let's see, under Obama, Trump, and Biden, we've seen more millionaires and billionaires created as the middle class is being systematically erased because they work for the middle class? Is that really? It is not consistent, just as you said. It's unbelievable, really. But it shouldn't surprise anyone. Anyone that has one functioning brain cell, anyone that follows our work knows exactly what's going on.
Now, you've harped here on the importance of constitutional money. There's a lot about the Constitution that's been laid by the wayside. When we interviewed Daniel McAdams from the Ron Paul Institute, and Ron Paul, a longtime advocate of sound money in the face of Ben Bernanke and everybody else back then. But the Ron Paul Institute, he came on our channel and said that the Patriot Act, for example, the so-called Patriot Act, is actually a cancer in our political lives because it stripped away so many constitutional protections that were guaranteed to us through our own Constitution. And that's, Now we're looking at the money part of our Constitution, the Coinage Act of 1792, saying that the dollar is defined as a number of grains of silver, for example. And that all just went out the window in 1913 with the formation of the Fed and going on to a fiat currency with the repeal of people being able to hold gold from FDR in 1933, and then taking the silver out of the currency in 1964, and Nixon closing the gold window. All these things have taken power away from the people. As you're saying, these are not the decisions that would be made by anybody who's working on behalf of the people, because all of that took power and wealth and ownership, property ownership, out of the hands of the people and put it into the very few. Now you're saying it's past time to just get back to foundations, to get back to fundamentals, to get back to the guaranteed empowerment of the people that constitutional money we're supposed to have had all along, and that was basically stolen from us. Do you want to talk to us about why you say that and what you think we should do about it?
Okay. The trigger for me, the final straw for Greg Mannarino, was Trump's call to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. When I saw that headline, and when I first saw it was on CNBC front page, I read it. And it just hit me the wrong way. I always urge people to use their God-given gift of intellect. And when you read it, look at it, and then let it sink in. It just hit me the wrong way. I said, hold on a minute. What's missing here? Why aren't we being told that we need to be the constitutional money capital of the world? Instantaneously, this is what hit me right in my face, like a punch in the face. And I said, oh, this is it. I said, this is it. It's time. People are looking towards false leaders, as they usually do, false gods, however you want to play it, which generally leads them to destruction. I mean, you go back in history as far as you want to go. Anyway, with regard to I said, that's enough. It's time that I feel that our audiences, yours, mine, a lot of other people here with large enough audiences, we all feel the same way. So why not now get behind something that we are guaranteed? We are assured, as you well know, everyone knows this. Actually, that's not true. Not everyone. That we are assured a sound money system in the U.S. Constitution. That ship there is the U.S. Constitution. I put that there for a reason. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. Some people, hey, Greg, is that the U.S.'s Constitution? Yes, that is. Okay, this is the law. It's the law of the people. This has been stripped out via the mechanisms that you outlined perfectly, again, right before I started talking. So if we know that we are assured this by the law of the land, which is the U.S. Constitution, it's time we take the system back. And, another trigger for me was on my own blog. And I really let this opportunity kind of pass me by. I did try to correct it to the best of my ability. Was someone asked me during my live stream, Greg, what is constitutional money? This is the situation we're in. People don't even know that we are assured a constitutional money system, gold and silver, commodity-backed system, a wealth-based system. Nowhere, not one word, not one syllable does it say in the U.S. Constitution that we are going to have a debt-based system. Any constitutional lawyer out here, prove me wrong. Where does it say that we have to have a debt-based system? It's nowhere. But that's what we have right now, and that's why we are in the situation that we are. Nation slaves, individual slaves to this debt-based system for which our Constitution says no. So the law is on our side, and on July 4th, 2025, we are going to peacefully march on the Federal Reserve Building in Washington, D.C. We want media attention. We want social media attention. We want to raise awareness. We want people to understand that this organization here is illegal. What they're doing is counterfeiting. What they're doing is running a Ponzi scheme. And all this has done is destroyed the people. This should be a worldwide event because every single central bank operates in the same manner. Every developed nation in this world is utilizing the same system. Does anybody find that kind of interesting? And looking at the situation here in the world, this inflation issue, people who live in their boxes believe it's just a United States issue. It's a worldwide phenomenon. But people, again, they're so fixated and put in their little boxes. They can't think. They can't function. And that's the mechanism who divide and conquer, the oldest trick in the book, unfortunately. But yes, absolutely. It's time for us to make a difference here. It's in our own hands. Now, In many ways, we've been responsible for allowing this mechanism to go on, but now it's time to shut that door, now to open up a new door, bring us back to what we are assured by the U.S. Constitution, a real sound money system. Sound about right?
Absolutely does. And there's lots of complexities around the proposal, and we need to make sure that we do it right, folks. So I myself and my wife have participated in marches in Washington, D.C. We were in the March for Marriage. We've had family members in the March for Life there multiple times. And those are permitted events, and they have police escorts, that sort of thing, to keep things on the up and up. Even with that, we've had difficulties directly. Like on the March for Marriage, we were scheduled to arrive at the Supreme Court after marching across the mall and getting there, which we did. When we arrived there, we found that the steps of the Supreme Court building where we were going to give, there was a speech planned, all this presentation, that sort of thing, that it was already occupied by people, a counter protest on the other side of the issue, and that the police escort that we had was absolutely ineffective at securing that spot that we had booked for the speech to happen, that sort of thing. So it's remarkable how challenging it can be. And we've certainly seen a very high profile protest in Washington just three plus years ago here, for which some people are still in prison and aren't even getting advocated for by their congressmen to get liberated. So there are complexities around that. One thing I want to remind everybody is that in any communication like this, free speech, it's absolutely essential for it to be done peacefully. I know you stressed that on your announcement on Friday, peaceful communication, peaceful march, and that's absolutely necessary. And that anybody who you ever encounter as we approach this, who advocates anything other than civilized, orderly, and peaceful proceedings, you want to stay as far away as you can from those individuals, because they may be working for somebody who wants photo opportunities to create a false flag event and shut down.
More than that, buddy. And that's exactly so. I'm so happy that you brought that up. Look, the last thing that they want is a peaceful protest. We have the law on our side. Okay. What they want here is people to, first of all, I've been telling people for the longest time, don't fall through the trap doors. They want a reason to steal our freedoms and liberties away. This is, all the permits are being set up right now. I'm actually talking to one lawyer so far about this, starting a legal action against the Fed as well. We'll talk more about that as we move forward. We're going to need more than one lawyer here. All right, we're going to need a team here, and it's an interesting endeavor. But what I think is very positive. First of all, they're going to try to block this every way that they possibly can. The last thing that the Federal Reserve wants is for any one person or any group of people to shed any light on what they've been doing, what they're actually up to, what their grand plan is.
Yeah, let me just interject there. That, make no mistake, what Greg has pointed out, what you've pointed out to all of us, is that this grand evolution that has gone on with the destruction of our constitutional currency, et cetera, has been a stealing of power from the people, away from the people, the God-given rights, and placing it in the hands of a very elite few. So any attempt to say, no, we demand that the right and proper and legal and constitutional power of being able to hold on to your true money, et cetera, constitutional money, be returned to the people, is absolutely going to be seen as and resisted as a attempt for the people to take back their power from those few elite. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I expect there to be plants here. I expect there to be people who are put into our crowd to deliberately cause an uprising here, violence. These people are going to be paid to do it. Okay, we are going to meet resistance here. If you are coming to this march on July 4th, 2025, and you see a group of people start to get rowdy or something, understand what you're really looking at here. This is more than likely a plant, okay? Back away. Just leave them be, move away. Do not participate in whatever that they are doing, because it's a setup here. It's a setup to draw attention away from what we're trying to do. Expect this in any kind of event, like especially something as huge as this. We are now stepping us up against the establishment, the real government. They won't have that. We're going to run into many, many obstacles here, no doubt about it. Just be ready for it. Any kind of violence, get away from it. This is a plant. People who are following our work realize they're not going to fall through this trapdoor because that's what they want. I've been telling people, do not fall through these trapdoors here. They want a reason to pull our freedoms and our liberties. Oh, we can't have this. Look at what happened there. It's just a setup here. It's not real. No one that follows our work is looking to create a violence here. All right, you can't achieve anything through violence. We achieve it through peace. I think that's a very strong lesson that we've been learning throughout history. A peace is how you do it, not through a war. Who benefits from war? Pain, death, not us. Okay, they do. So we're going to avoid that like the plague. Okay, this is a peaceful march. Just maintain your understanding of this. There will be resistance. There's going to be plants in the crowd, people being paid to get people angry and maybe destroy things. It's the last thing that we want to see.
When we visited, Liberty and Finance visited Washington, D.C. and the Federal Reserve Building, we filmed in front of the Federal Reserve Building. We tried to enter through the employee entrance and explained what we were there for. And we were told by a guard outside that we had to stay farther away than these posts that were installed out there. So you can't really go up onto the steps. There's these posts that keep you 100 yards away or so from there. And then we tried to go in, and the security guards said, "What are you guys doing here?" And we said, "Well, we're taxpayers, and we're here to tour the building so that we can talk about it for our podcast, that sort of thing." And we were told emphatically, "You're not entering the building." So it's interesting how controlled and how protected. It's definitely a castle with a moat, and it's not at all of or by for the people. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was that there are not just one federal building in Washington, D.C., but for those who wouldn't be able to travel there, they don't feel left out. There are Federal Reserve buildings all around the country, and that must be part of your overall plan as well.
I think so too. I think this should be bigger. If we can get people anywhere you're able to go to and start to raise awareness, absolutely. I think this should be a worldwide event. Central banks around the world, people should be doing this. I chose July 4th for a few reasons. I understand that it's a holiday. And I think that is, again, look, I'm not looking to interact with these people at the Federal Reserve at all. I just want to raise awareness. I want people, the last thing that they want is any kind of media attention, whether it's social media is way more powerful in my view. But we want people to record this. We want people to have opportunities to talk. I want people to educate themselves on the system. Everyone who follows our work is already well versed in all this. But it's just so important that we at least try to do something here. We got to do this. We have no one else working for us here. It's not the Trumps nor the Kamalas are both calling to empower the Federal Reserve, just like we witnessed during Trump's tenure. He empowered the Federal Reserve even more so than both of the other guys, including his $3.6 trillion that was pulled into existence via convict and warp speed vile weapons. But we could talk about that another time if you want. But anyway, we just have to remember that we the people have the law on our side. We're supposed to be able to govern ourselves. Well, it's time we did it. All right, we don't need to put our faith in any person here. We have, again, not just the law on our side here, but I also believe it's way bigger than that. And I think you kind of get my gist on this.
Yeah, it's what is right. It is what is right. And when your feet are on the rock of what is right, you can stand firm and don't be dissuaded and don't be misled and don't be discouraged. And you're absolutely right. We have to be very wary of wolves in sheep's clothing that would appear to be a part of this, that would be actually set and chartered to disrupt it and to give an excuse for a crackdown. That's not what we're going to do. So, along the way, just a quick note on strategic relocation. My wife and I, most of our viewers are aware, relocated from Northwest Ohio to Central Florida a little over a year ago, enjoying many aspects of that. Our son, Elijah, who's also a co-host on this channel, did a strategic relocation. Any thoughts from you, since you had relocated in the past couple of years, on thoughts that people should be weighing as they look at strategic relocation to put themselves in a place that's going to be sustainable and where they can really survive and thrive as a family going forward?
Look, obviously, we need access to resources. That's the truth here. I think that's going to be the biggest thing moving forward. I've been telling people this for a very, very long time. They're going to force us into a resource scarcity kind of a situation here. We need access to water. I mean, that should be a big one. And other things, too. With regard to prepping for where we're going, I'm probably not the best guy to be asking that. I do believe from a financial standpoint, I have it down. I also told people that we need to embrace each other, love each other, care about each other, be charitable to each other here. Realize that we are responsible for each other, and there are people out there that want to us to hate each other, and we already see it here with the political spectrum, the nonsense, the lies. Where does all that stuff come from? The lies, the deceptions, the distractions. It doesn't come from a nice place. I think most people can understand that here. And anyway, so. But with regard to all this other stuff, sure, we need to be ready. We need to have the high ground across the board, and be ready for anything. We're not done. We're going to see vast debt expansion moving forward, more distortions across the spectrum of the financial markets. I think 2025 is just lining up in a very bad way. Everything I see, all the people I talk to, I make no secret of that. I talk to people. I have friends that are still working in the mega banks for as long as for decades, and I talk to these people all the time. And let me just say this: there are people on the inside that are looking out for other people too. They realize how bad this is and what's being set up, and these people, I don't know. Like I hear things, I talk, and everything I hear and talk about, I openly discuss on my blog. So maybe just a little bit of inside info into people that there are people that don't like what they're seeing, that do work at these major institutions here, that they can't come out and publicly say this stuff, but they know what's going on. They all do. I used to be friends with probably half the people on CNBC. We used to, and they would tell me straight out, we know what's going on. We just can't say it. I mean, I think people are aware of that too.
We've had whistleblowers on our channel who work for either, I would say, disreputable bullion dealerships that prey on retirees, trying to oversell them on precious metals IRAs with things that are way beyond what they need to be paying, et cetera, that sort of thing. And financial planners who are told that they would like to be able to tell their clients that they should be getting some protection from sound money, from constitutional money, but that they can't say that because it's against their license, or they can't tell people to take money out of management, et cetera, from their company policy, et cetera. And they have to just keep them in the market, keep them invested in stocks, bonds, and ETFs, that sort of thing. So it's always heartening to meet those who are bucking that system and are in fact sticking their neck out, even if it's quietly, to tell their clients, you've got to get some protection. You've just got to, because that's what's going to be your arc in the flood that's coming. Greg, if people want to take advantage of the research, the writing, and the posting that you do on an ongoing basis, where should they get connected?
Man, you can pretty much find me everywhere. But my website is probably a good place, traderschoice.net, YouTube, just Google me. I'm proud to say that I'm a pretty easy guy to find.
We've been speaking with Gregory Mannarino, the founder of traderschoice.net. And Greg, as always, on behalf of all of our viewers, thanks especially now for jumping on short notice and coming on to talk to us about the March on the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C., July 4th, 2025, to say politely and to say firmly and to say peacefully, we want our constitutional money back. Thank you, Greg, for joining us on Liberty and Finance.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are our weekly specials from September 2nd through September 9th while supplies last. First, we have the famous 1-ounce gold Krugerrand at just $60 over spot. Next, we have the favorite bullion coin of Europe, backdated Silver Philharmonics at just $3.10 over spot. Next, we have compelling pricing on various pre-33 American gold coins. For current pricing on these or any of our other products, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.